In New Mexico, after a protest turned to mayhem Monday night, the Albuquerque Police Department now says 13 guns and 34 magazines were recovered from 5 people on the scene. Comes after a man was arrested and charged with aggravated battery in connection with a shooting that erupted as demonstrators tried to remove a statue of a Spanish conquistador. A man was injured in that shooting. Now, members of an armed militia group called the New Mexico Civil Guard were also detained by police. The group's presence at the protest has raised alarm among some city and state officials. The militia has tried to distance themselves from the accused shooter, Stephen Baca. However, at the time, they did try to protect him as chaos intensified. Joining us now from our NBC affiliate in Albuquerque is KOB4 TV's Megan Abundis. She was covering the protest when the shooting happened. And Megan, just walk us through sort of how, as best you can, when this started to go from tense to chaotic.
Sure. I mean, this was scary, of course. This was publicized as a prayer gathering, and we saw a group of Native Americans blessing this ceremony. They were doing a prayer. It was quickly interrupted by a group of counter-protesters, and back and forth happened for a while there, and things quickly intensified. The minute a chain went around that statue, the emotion changed. During that time, we saw Stephen Baca was recorded on camera pushing down at least 2 protesters, pushing them to the ground. That's when we saw this scuffle happened, right? Baca was seen hit by a protester with a skateboard. He then, in turn, used pepper spray on the protesters, and that group kind of followed Baca down the street. It appeared that he was leaving. Baca was then seen on the ground. He fired his weapon, and that hit a protester in the stomach. We talk about chaos and mayhem, and this felt like that. People were running. People were taking cover. And that's when the police showed up. And my line of questioning over the last couple of days have been, what is protest protocol in Albuquerque, and why didn't police intervene sooner? Police say officers were nearby, but they were out of sight. They were undercover. And once they saw pepper spray, they called for a bigger response team, and that was the riot police in Albuquerque. And that's when we saw crowd control tactics being used. Pepper spray, tear gas, flashbang, and crowd control techniques. So we now know that those tactics used by police will be under review by a public oversight board, where the police officers were, how they responded, and the entire investigation, the shooting and the events that led up to it, will also be handed over to an entirely different entity of law enforcement in New Mexico. New Mexico State Police will take it over. APD says that they did that to ensure fairness and accuracy. And really, the chief admitted yesterday that no one can really agree on the best type of response when it comes to having police show up to protests. We've seen time and time again. Yeah.
We keep showing this cache of weapons that was confiscated. Whose weapons were there? It's our understanding these were a slew of weapons here, magazines and guns, and it was only 5 people?
It was 5 people. It was a group of people from New Mexico, Civil Guard, and Stephen Baca as well. They're essentially, New Mexico Civil Guard is a civilian militia, right? They're not affiliated with law enforcement. On social media, they tend to fall in line with more conservative values, and they often show up to protests in recent weeks heavily armed and with assault-style rifles. And they say their purpose is to help police in an emergency. They told me on Monday that they were there to protect the statue.
Yeah, I know. I read a report where they were in this militia group works, or the police tries to work with this militia group at times. Is that right? Sort of. It wasn't this group. It was a different type of group that was offering security. We now know that Albuquerque police have confirmed some scanner chatter for us. It was recorded that Albuquerque police officer referred to this New Mexico Civil group as armed friendlies, and that in turn is now under investigation by Albuquerque police as well. Megan Abundis, it's quite the story. You've been on top of it. We had your package the other day. It's good to talk with you about it and get your firsthand account as well. Megan Abundis with KOB4 TV, our Albuquerque affiliate. Thanks very much.